I've talked with a lot of teachers lately that are choir directors or drama directors, folks that have had to manage, big logistical kind of organizations within an organization. When it comes to enlisting parent help, when it comes to having to build a program, when it comes to planning complex events and dealing with liability and dealing with, supervising tons of kids, you deal with discipline. Just in my mind, from talking to folks that have been in your shoes, the amount of practical experience they have is greater than probably any other type of teacher, maybe except for a coach, but I would argue even greater than a coach's responsibility. Can you just talk about how maybe I know you weren't also like an English teacher or science teacher like I was, so you don't have anything to compare it to probably, but like, what do you see as the transferable qualities from your previous position that have helped you be a successful administrator?
I think the biggest is being able to multitask in various ways. And you literally gave all of the kind of description for being an arts educator. But we definitely deal with our own budgets in Texas, and depending on the district, you definitely deal with your own budget. You're definitely dealing with students. You're definitely dealing with students being eligible or, passing all of their classes in order to perform in any performance off campus, to do state competition. So there's a good percentage of monitoring grades, working with that student and their parents on making sure that they're meeting whatever interventions or attending their tutorials. Also, sometimes at the sacrifice of attending your own rehearsals, just so that they can be what we say eligible to either play or to sing or to do competitions. So you're dealing with parents one-on-one, you're dealing with immediate student behaviors, you're dealing with recruitment, because you are an elective at the end of the day, and students don't have to take your class, but you're trying to instill love and a passion and a joy for the work that we're doing into those students so that they can continue to return every year. You're dealing with so much in an arts program that you won't necessarily have the opportunity to deal with in a core content class. Although we do give grades in the arts as an elective, you only need a certain number of courses in order to graduate, to fulfill your high school graduation plan in the state of Texas, versus as an English teacher, as a math teacher, you have to take one for the most part every year. So there is an immediate attachment of, okay, I need to take this seriously because my goal is to walk across that stage. So we still have to foster that sense of urgency and that passion into our program. So all of those things, I think, prepared me fairly in a positive way for when I transitioned into administration.
Let's say that, imagine however many years down the road, maybe you're a principal, right? And you have either colleagues in another building that are principals that are hiring APs, or you yourself have a promising choir director or drama director on staff. Like, what would you say to either one of those parties to encourage them to be open-minded about the prospect of becoming a school leader?
Immediately, I would say two things: get into instruction, get into core instruction. Know if you can go into an ELA class, be able to coach that teacher on foundational teaching tenets. Things that make a classroom run well. Typically in the arts, we, for the most part, are pretty strong on classroom management, but be able to know the content, know how to take a deep dive into curriculum and find the gaps and the areas where we can really service students better, and how to coach a teacher into translating, knowing the curriculum into effective instructional delivery. Really being able to know that even though it's not the content that we have a background in. I think that it wasn't a big shock to me, but it still surprises me to this day how much knowledge that you have to have. You really have to be an instructional leader. Right. So you have to know enough. You don't have to be an expert in all of the core contents, but you do need to know or have a fair knowledge of how to be able to coach that teacher and to raise the student achievement in that class. So I would definitely say immerse yourself into core instructional content, know the best practices for effective instructional delivery, know how to drive student achievement. I think those are big pieces. The other piece I would say is, and I say this now almost as a mirror to myself maybe 5 years ago. Don't shy away or don't be ashamed of your arts background,
Hmm.
because when you go into administration, we are coached and trained, especially in your development programs, to be an instructional leader. And a lot of times you don't see a whole lot of us in the room because a lot of people, let's just be honest, they don't take the arts as serious. They think of choir, oh, you're just, doing what they do on Sister Act. or if you're in band, oh, you're just doing Mr. Holland's opus or whatever, something
Sure.
like that. So they're equating it to what they're familiar with. But we can bring something to the table, and we definitely bring a good amount of skill sets to the table. So don't shy away from your background and use that to your advantage. Don't shy away from your creativity, because one thing we are able to do as arts educators is we're able to see a problem and find a creative way to find a solution. And when you think about running a school, finding issues that are happening and trying to find creative ways to fix it, that's what it's all about. Like that's what it's all about. So those two pieces, I would say, get into instruction, really know your content, and then also don't be ashamed of your background. Lean into your creativity.
If I was interviewing someone for an AP job and they were highlighting, I might be looking at the resume, and to just be totally honest, before having some of the exposure to some arts educators that I've had recently, I'd probably be looking at it and be like, okay, they were a drama director or something like that, or a choir director, band director, like, yeah, are they really going to be strong in the classroom? But I think if you go in and all of the English teachers that you're interviewing have not had to pull off, have not had to manage a budget necessarily. I mean, there might be some extreme cases. They haven't had to deal with a lot of out of school programs, a lot of trips, with a lot of, enlisting parent volunteers, all this stuff that we mentioned before. And I can imagine if I'm in that interview and I have someone highlighting all of these things they've already done, which is like half the job of an AP to begin with, it's like, wow, you're already halfway there. And we're not even talking about a lot of the other things. So yeah, I've been convicted lately that, I think, just even totally admitting myself, I think I haven't given arts teachers in the past the amount of respect that they're due, based on the amount of work that they do. So, and you're proof of that. And I just appreciate you sharing your experience with that.
Yeah, clearly I've been on the receiving end of that, because sometimes our resumes are overlooked for certain positions. I've just been blessed to have, if I was interviewing for a position, I've had principals to, when they see an arts background, I know two of them off the top of my head that would immediately go to those people. Some of them because they have an arts background. The school that I mentioned when I was the head core director there, it hurt that the head principal was a former band director. One of the assistant principals was a former band director. Another person was a choir person. So she knew the skill sets that she already possessed, but what it would take to move a campus of that size in the direction. So I've had principals that lean into those resumes, but I've been on the receiving end where we do get overlooked. And we have to work just that much harder in the interview process to show what are we doing and what have we done rather in our classrooms that we can bring to this role. And that's tough and that's tricky. So I would say to any arts educator that's still applying for those AP positions, keep applying, keep interviewing, learn as much as you can throughout the interview process. Remember the questions that they're asking you so that you can go back, dig a little deeper, get some answers and get some meaningful answers to them. But don't give up, because it's definitely possible.
That's great. And to those principals out there, stop overlooking those resumes.
Yes.
You got a lot of great stuff hiding there that's just right in front of you that might make your life a lot easier.